I just want to point out, for these TobyMac reviews, every single video has been shot in a different location. That's just the beauty of Mac music review. Anyway, in this epic episode, we are talking about the TobyMac album, The Elements. The Elements is a follow-up to the massively successful TobyMac Christian contemporary music hit machine that is This Is Not a Test. Stylistically speaking, it's a bit hard to say how these albums differ. I would say that This Is Not a Test did lean into a funkier direction with songs like a Match, Backseat Driver, and especially Feel It, while this album is more in the range of almost a little bit atmospheric at times, and then just really upbeat Christian pop music. That's basically where this album falls, musically speaking, only sort of leaning into balladry, and when it does, it's ballads that do fit in the scheme of Christian contemporary music. Just taking a look at the hits on this album will give you a pretty good scope and scale of what this album sounds like. Looking at the songs I Just Need You, with those vocals, those backing vocals, and those keys, and those freaking, kind of vibey just hook. And then you listen to Scars, which, despite trying to lean into kind of a darker direction and be a little bit more serious, also just kind of has this crowd pleasy, vibey type of hook in music and production. And then Everything, which just leans into a much more pop direction. None of these songs particularly excite me or get me really interested. I think I Just Need You is the best of this bunch, but the lyrics on Scars feel very generic, and as well as on Everything, I'm just not getting much out of these songs lyrically. They really feel like just appealing to the lowest common denominator, just generic faith, Christian-inspired lyrics about going through hard things and good things, and yeah. In fact, I would argue that the lyrical content throughout this album is really not very interesting, and it never dives very deep, and it's not extremely specific. I really do like kind of like specific lyrical content when you're looking at Christian contemporary music, because a lot of people are just trying to make stuff that will appeal to the most people possible, and it's just kind of generic. But this album, it's just going through trials and like the most vague terms possible, like on the song The Elements. The spiciest that the lyrical content gets is on the song Starts With Me, which is about white privilege and racism. Yeah, I don't think it's a great song. I don't think the way they handled the topic was very good. I hate how he's doing this kind of fake Jamaican accent, like, for the hook. It's very awkward, like, in his singing, and it's my least favorite song on the album, actually, and I've never liked this song. If you like this song, let me know, because I've always thought this song was just kind of awkward. The only massive highlights on this album, the only songs that I really, really like, even though I would argue that in general the album is extremely well produced. I mean, I think this is the tightest and cleanest production that TobyMac has had. There's just a lot of different sounds, a lot of different instruments all coming together. It just feels so like well put together that I just have to praise it for that. But if I am getting into complaints, or if I am talking about songs that really go above and beyond, I'm going to talk about Edge of My Seat and It's You. Edge of My Seat is legitimately a banger. It is just a song that will have you tapping your toes. It'll have you dancing. It's a song that legitimately just makes me want to get up out of my seat and just have a party. I mean, that sounds cringe to say, but that's how, like, this song is legitimately like a great, like, upbeat, like pop, high energy, whatever you want to call it. And then It's You is just, once again, you're going for the kind of atmospheric type of vibes, but I think it just really hits. This one just works extremely well with a heart-stopping chorus and just the way the music just climaxes, and then it goes to a more kind of lo-fi, chill kind of thing going on after that hook. And it's a really cool song, musically speaking, and it even has like a musical outro, which is, you don't see that a lot in mainstream Christian contemporary music. It's a really cool song. The last 4 tracks are as good as they are predictable and just kind of like fine. Like, they all serve a purpose. They all lyrically are vague enough to just get by, but musically I think they're all very well put together. I think they all sound really good. Overflow's fun. See the Light, I would argue, is actually one of the better TobyMac closing tracks, even though lyrically it doesn't do much for me. Musically, I would argue it's once again, very good. Hello Future's pretty good. Horizon is pretty good. The album is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's all very well put together. It's just not blowing me away. It's not knocking my socks off. It's not hitting me in any lyrical capacity in a strong way. I can't say the album is terribly written. It just really does feel like it was written kind of by a team of people, and it was kind of written just to appeal to the widest audience possible. And I think lyrically there is more spark and pizzazz and more, there's just more originality and kind of interesting content. I would argue that it just in general, all of his albums I've reviewed before this one have just more personality to them than this one. But I would say musically, I didn't even talk about the title track. The title track is pretty good. It's a pretty solid title track. One of his better title tracks, in my opinion, probably. I mean, I'm not an expert on every TobyMac title track, but it's a very solid song, very solid musically speaking, pretty crazy by the end. But anyway, I'm giving the album a 3.5 star rating out of 5. It's interesting because on revisiting all of these older TobyMac albums that I reviewed over the past 2 weeks, or past week, or whatever, I was kind of expecting to not really like them. I was expecting them to be kind of bad, especially Eye on It on revisiting, because I thought it'd be corny and cringe. But nostalgia kind of got me through those re-listens. Like, the re-listening to those albums was such a positive experience for me. And this is the only TobyMac album I've talked about thus far that doesn't have a nostalgia feature. Like, I definitely did listen to it when it came out, but 2018 isn't old enough to be, like, nostalgic for me. 5 years ago, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for this. I didn't grow up listening to this constantly like those 3 other albums, Tonight, Eye on It, and This Is Not a Test. So without that nostalgia boost, it's a 3.5 out of 5, and maybe all those other albums would be a 3.5 or less if I didn't grow up with them. But I didn't have that factor with this one, so you do need to consider that, because apparently people really like this album. Apparently people say this is a very good album in his discography, and so I might be I like the album. I think it actually is a very solid Christian contemporary music album. It's just not as good as that other stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your day.